All right, it is loading and we are live now. One second, everybody, bear with me. Okay, cool. Everybody, hello. Brent Simpson here with the Bold Vision Podcast. As you know, we talk to entrepreneurs to get a little bit about their stories, so you can kind of figure out what about that do you need to apply to your story, or what do you need to avoid like the plague. And so not every story is for everybody. And as you know, it's going to be conversational. It's going to be fun. And I have to say, I'm proud of myself for this one. You all don't know it, but I was able to get Shane of Hirics to turn his camera on and go live with everybody today. So this podcast is streaming live. It's also, if you're listening to it, you know, these two individuals, Julia and Shane, when I met them, I was initially impressed. And I was impressed because their professionalism and their forward thinking as it related to their business. They always were looking for ways to grow their businesses, to improve their services, and actually to take care of the clients. So much so that I was like, you know what, I have to interview you all, because there's some businesses out there, you're not taking care of your clients. And in this one in particular, we're going to talk about the partnership. Like, we're going to talk about the business as a whole, but we're going to talk about a partnership because they have a really good partnership as well. And that's something that, you know, entrepreneurs struggle with. Sometimes you choose the wrong partner for the wrong reasons. Sometimes it evolves into the wrong partner. So today we're going to talk about the business, but we're going to talk about the partnership in particular. Before we get started, of course, got to introduce everybody. Julia, can you introduce yourself to the Bold Vision community?
Yes, so I am Julia Taylor. I am the CEO of Hirics. I kind of handle the people, operations, and technology piece of Hirics.
And Shane, could you introduce yourself for us?
Hello, everyone. My name is Shane Russell. I'm the CFO of Hirics, and what I do is I facilitate the processes to help our business scale, become more efficient and profitable.
All right. Now, you all started Hirics what year?
In 2020, right as the pandemic was starting.
Okay, so there are a lot of pandemic businesses out there. Did you all start because of the pandemic, or you all knew you were starting and it just happened to coincide with the pandemic?
So we knew we were starting and it happened to coincide with the pandemic, but being in recruiting and staffing, it was a perfect storm because all these employers suddenly had an issue with staffing their offices across all industries.
Okay, that's going to lead us right into the next question. What is Hirics?
So we do recruiting and staffing. Obviously, given me and Shane's backgrounds in the legal industry, we started off focused in legal, but that grew to the financial services industry. We have educational clients, pharmaceutical, manufacturing. So we cover a broad spectrum of industries and types of positions.
Okay. Now, Shane, what is your background? She mentioned your backgrounds.
So my background is in the legal industry. I went to criminal justice. Then from there, I was pursuing become an attorney. So that's one of the ways that me and Julia met, actually, is as I was going through taking paralegal studies as a post-bachelor. Me and Julia met at a conference through an association. And then from there, you know, we continued to build that rapport, and as we connected, and then fast forward a few years later, you know, Julia, we connected on our bond of pursuing that goal and using paralegals, our experience with paralegals as a building block. And as we were going through there, a few years later, that's when we connected. Again, she told me about what she was doing in the legal industry that was outside of what we talked about initially. And then from there, you know, our connection grew and started Hirics. That's where most of it came from, you know, wanting to become an attorney.
So
that's pretty much it in the legal industry.
So, you know, a big part of what you said is that you all originally met and fostered a partnership or a relationship, right? And that relationship over time evolved, you stayed in touch. And yeah, I want to point that out because again, as business owners, we have to make sure we're staying in touch with potential contacts. We need to stay in touch with not everybody, and be clear, with people who matter. And I'm saying that because there's certain people you probably need to stay away from as a business owner and not engage. So when you meet quality people and you meet individuals, you think, there is some synergy. You might not know what it is at the time, but you just know there's some synergy there. Pay attention to those feelings because, you can see right here, it turned into an amazing company. And if that relationship had either faded away or not been nurtured, neither one of them will be in this business as they are today. So, but now, Julia, for those that don't know, can you give us your background?
Yeah, so same thing. I was undergrad political science. I thought I wanted to be a lawyer, so I started working in law firms during the day and going to school at night, pursuing a law degree like Shane. And I ended up, seeing law firms at different levels, and decided to start my first business in the legal industry. A lot of my clients were like, what you're doing is great, but we need somebody in the office. We need an attorney. We need this. And that amount of inquiries fostered this idea for Hirics. Like, a lot of my clients were getting burned by the big multi-billion-dollar staffing agencies out there. They wanted an alternative. And so I talked to Shane about, here's some ideas I have. How can we put this together, serve a need of my existing clients, and grow it to serve the needs of other employers in other industries?
Okay, so that was an important piece. It's going to take us into the next question. There are the big boys in the room, right? There's those companies that are institutional in the industry. What makes you all different as a staffing company from the others?
Yeah, I talked to a lot of clients and they've worked with some of the really big players that you see on TV or you see everywhere. And they were spending a lot of money and not getting what they wanted. So Hirics decided to change that model, which hasn't been changed in a really long time. So we lowered our fees. We offered alternative payment structures, such as payment plans and things like that. And we came up with a process that allows us to really get to know our clients and their cultures, and build a database of candidates that not only look good on paper, but also fit well with that culture.
And how has your difference, what makes you all special? Let's call it special, not different. Let's use that word special. The thing that makes you special, do you feel like your clients are actually appreciating it or do they not even notice?
No, I definitely think they're appreciated. And I also think, we're able to reach a wider range of clients because a lot of times recruiting and staffing is out of the budget for the small business owner, which a lot of my law firms that come to me are solo attorneys, small firms. So we made recruiting and staffing affordable for the smaller businesses.
All right, Shane, I saw you about to add to that. So
it just makes a difference when you know where your dollar is going. And that's one of the biggest things that we pride ourselves on when we deal with our clients. They know exactly where the dollar is going. With this one, you're not just getting like a quote unquote headhunter. Somebody just sends you a pile of resumes. What we do is, we get to know the candidates. We get to know you, like Julia said, your culture. We match them up on things that you can't necessarily get on paper. I mean, for example, like personality.
Yeah, personalities have to match company culture, right? So if you have a personality that is not going to fit in the company culture, you really shouldn't put that person in front of the owner because you're wasting their time. And if she has a busy schedule and you're calling her saying, I have these great candidates, but they're only great because they're warm bodies, it doesn't work. And I agree, as a business owner of a company that's just sizable, I have been in front of those people who they'll just send you anybody. And as long as the boxes are checked, they're sending it. And if you guys are taking the time to get to know the company culture, that really matters because then you can say, you know what, everything about you checks the box, but your personality is going to fit. So we're going to move you to the side and save you for somebody else. That really is helpful to me as an owner and any owners out there listening, because we know now you're not going to waste a lot of our time. And, time waste, you really just are equivalent to just losing money. It's part of shrink. So now you all decided to, the idea for Hirics, Julia, was it your idea and then you called Shane? Was it from a conversation you all had? It was born? How did it actually get started?
Yeah, it was from a conversation that we had. We were looking for ways to work together and refer clients back and forth to each other in our separate jobs. And I was just getting overwhelmed by the amount of attorneys coming to me, asking me for this service. And I was like, Shane, what do you think about this? And where else could we apply it? And he's like, I really have an interest in pharmaceuticals. He's got a financial background, so accounting made sense. And then we also wanted to look at other jobs that were in high demand during the pandemic, like manufacturing, those general labor jobs as well. So it wasn't just about the 6-figure jobs, it was about the jobs that were really hard to place during the pandemic.
It's actually pretty brave of you all to tackle some of those jobs, because it was that period where everybody was hurting. No one knew how to go about finding employees. And then also some of the employees in this world, let's call it what it was, they were making more in unemployment than they were actually going to work. So it was a lot of people who were like, you know what, I don't want to go. And, in this space now, all right, you guys have the partnership. And Shane, when the idea came up, this is questions for you. This is a question I don't know if anybody's ever asked you. You know me, I got to throw a curveball. And you knew that this business was about to get started and Julie was going to be your partner. Were you like, oh no? Or were you like super excited because Julie was going to be a partner? I know we're on the conversation now, so it might be skewed. But, how did you feel having a partnership? Because a lot of times people want to work on their own because they have full control.
So I can honestly say I was like, oh no, when it came about. But, like I said, me and Julia, we built a strong rapport from previous years up to that point. And, if you ever get to talk to Julia and get to know Julia is about her business. So she definitely made me comfortable as we take this journey together. And it does help to have a partner that you can rely on. It definitely makes things easier. Nothing's ever guaranteed, but you have certain things in place that give you a higher probability of whatever goal set. So Julia is that defining piece that makes this company run. It's definitely made me feel comfortable.
No, I get it. And Julia, this question that I'm about to ask you is not designed to say, okay, what's wrong with Shane? But the question I'm about to ask is, having a partnership in general, what are some of the challenges of having a partnership?
I'm certainly sometimes a little impulsive. like let's start this company, and Shane just balances me.
No, wait. No, I don't want this to be a you or Shane answer. I mean, partnerships in general. Like, what are some challenges? Partnership. This is supposed to be ambiguous, so you can say no names.
You have to find somebody that is strong in the areas where you are weak. So, I don't understand finances as well as somebody with a financial background. So I knew I needed a partner that could handle the financial piece. I know sometimes, like, one of my weaknesses is struggling with the hard conversations, getting rid of people, cutting ties. And so I knew I needed to look for a partner that had those characteristics. I really think a lot of times people look for somebody that's just like them, and then you end up perpetuating the same bad habits. But if you find somebody that is strong in those areas where you're weak, then you become a really, really powerful team together. And I think that's where we've been able to grow.
And that's really important, because if you find somebody that essentially covers the things that you're weak at, is one big thing that as business owners sometimes we don't do, is sit down and figure out what we're weak at. You can't go find a partner who's going to plug your holes if you don't know your holes. And some of us just operate from the standpoint like, oh, I wanted to start the business. I had the idea for the business. So by some default factor, I know everything about the business. That's not accurate. Like, for whomever is listening to this, watching this, and you have an idea for a business and it's quote unquote your baby, you have to be willing to bring somebody. If you're going to do a partnership, I'll say that. If you're looking at a partnership, you have to be willing to let somebody come in and be who they are. not come in and then make them try to, be a clone of yourself. And some of us, we do, Julia. I know a lot of business owners. I mean, we consult business owners. I meet business owners every day, all day, and I see it. I see business owners who they have the spark of an idea and they want to do a partnership, but they want to do it with somebody exactly like them. And it's fear is really pushing that. They're scared that if anybody comes in who's better than them, like, oh man, people are going to see my holes. And sometimes on a subconscious level, they don't even know that's what they're hiding from. And then they want somebody just like them so they can just assume that everything about them is great. Because when you start bringing people in who aren't just like you, they're going to point stuff out. If you have a tendency just to be late, or you have a tendency to be like way over the top, or when you show up to a meeting, you're always wearing cargo shorts and a tank top. Like, you can't do it with so much when you have a partner. They're going to call you on it. And so I'm really glad you said that about the weaknesses and in partnerships. So for you all, like, what's your partnership superpower? And whoever wants to answer this can answer it. And I'll throw a softball on this one. Is it the trust? Is it, I know she's not gonna run off my money. I know he's going to be the closer. Is it, what is the superpower that exists within your partnership?
I definitely think trust is big. I also think it's just knowing that there's somebody else to back you up. Like, I started another business and it was just me. And it's a much better feeling when it's like, I can call, Shane, and here's this idea. Let's run through it. Like, what would you do here? Or just somebody else to say, well, I think that costs too much, like, let's look for a cheaper alternative, or like, let's hold off on doing that until we do X, Y, and Z. So I like having that second person, because you can be your own worst enemy sometimes. So somebody else to just kind of keep you in check and know that you can call this person and be completely transparent is a huge, huge thing.
I found that working with somebody also to be extremely beneficial. When you're in a silo and you're in business and it's like just you, it gets lonely. And people, you hear all the time, it's lonely at the top, but it's lonely building too. It's not just lonely at the top, it's lonely during the journey up. And so I think you guys are a great partnership. I've definitely spent some time with you all. I've watched, been a part of certain things, and finding a dynamic that can go the distance is not easy. So, I'm gonna go back to you, Shane, on this. Understanding you all's 3 pillars. Do the 3 pillars, and actually, whichever wants to answer this part, with your 3 pillars, do you think it's one of the things that keeps you guys grounded, or is it just a part of the business? And number one, what are the 3 pillars? And then the second part would be, how does that play into either the partnership or the vision of how you all are moving forward?
Well, I can take the beginning of that question, and my perfect partner can follow up. But no, it's definitely something that keeps us grounded in our business, which is integrity, innovation, and client service. It definitely plays a big deal because, like I said, we like to know that our clients know where their dollar is going, and they can always count on us. And then innovation, Julia is the brains behind the operation, and we're always thinking of new plans. She's definitely always calling with a new idea, and the ideas are really, really good. And it's hard to say no sometimes, but it's just probably not the right timing. But at the end of the day, it's still an idea, and it will be implemented. And then client service, we like being personable. We like being on call and having our clients feel like we're a part of their team. We're not just like, how you can just outsource something. It's like when they get it done, they get it done. So we always keep them in the loop. We try to make sure our processes match up with theirs because, simplicity is a big thing nowadays. And we want to make it as simple and convenient as possible.
I get it. And Julie, any follow-up from that?
No, I think he was exactly right. We live by those pillars every day. We have the same values in that and how we feel like clients should be treated and things like that. So I definitely think our clients recognize that. And they see it in every email we send, every phone call we make, every time we take a job order on a weekend or, late at night. I think they see that.
Now, if you all were talking to an entrepreneur who's thinking about doing a partnership, what advice would each of you all give to a person? Again, you are sitting across the table from this individual and they just told you they wanted to do a partnership. Do you have any advice for them? Julia, what would be your advice? And then after that, Shane, what would be your advice?
I think number one, have fun. Like, you should be doing something you enjoy. And so like, we have serious times and everything like that, but our whole team, we have fun. We laugh, we joke. Our clients know that we enjoy what we're doing. So, it shows when you really enjoy what you're doing. So make sure whatever it is that you decide to do, that you and your partner are equally passionate about it. And you don't take yourself too seriously. You can laugh at your mistakes and move on. And also just listen more than you talk. So I never want Shane to feel like, okay, well, this is what she's good at. So, I'm just in the background. It's always like, let's listen, let's work together, and let's be equals.
Yeah, I get it. What was it? It was some show. It might have been episode of Seinfeld or something. He said we have 2 ears and 1 mouth because we're supposed to listen twice as much as we talk. So it's interesting that you say that. It's something to say about a person feeling like they will be heard. It creates an environment of safety and protection. It's like, no, like I actually have a voice, and I know if I bring it up to my partner, they're at least going to give it some consideration. But it's also good too that when you present it, they aren't always going to say yes. Like I don't think anybody truly wants a yes person. They think they do until it happens. And then it's like, yeah, I really wish you would have gave me some input because that crashed and burned and we could have avoided it. And so, yeah, not having that ear and being able to talk and have fun. I definitely want to have fun. If I'm not having fun, I don't want to do it. So Shane, if somebody's sitting across the table from you, they just told you they want to, go into a partnership, and they said, do you have any advice for me? What would it be?
Like Julia said, definitely have fun with it. But most importantly, you got to understand your partner and be open. Open to listening to the things that they have. Because like Julia said, it's nice to have somebody that sees through a different lens. So just be open, but at the end of the day, know what you're willing to tolerate and know what you're not willing to tolerate.
Yeah.
Make it be known.
No, they're actually honesty, right? And it's easier to be honest when you know you're going to be heard. But going back to knowing what you tolerate and what you won't, you got to know yourself. And people jump into business too fast. Honestly, I believe you jump in too fast and you really don't even know yourself. And you now are depending on a partner to figure you out when you haven't figured you out. So now you don't know what you want. They don't know what to give you, but you're mad at them because they don't know what you want. But you never explain to them what they should be receiving, what you should be receiving. And it just turns into like this messy circle. And nobody knows whose fault it is because nobody stopped to just listen. It becomes like a blame game. And so, everything you all said, I hope the listeners are really paying attention to the partnership piece. And for Hirics, like, what does the future look like for Hirics?
We want to continue to scale. We'd love to maybe start looking at jobs internationally because I think there's a lot of times that, international candidates get taken advantage of on both sides. We'd love to keep adding the industries that we serve. And we'd love to start building a team and a physical office. We've been a virtual business, but we have goals and plans to maybe plant some roots somewhere.
Okay. And Shane, I mean, from a future standpoint, what's the one thing that you keep your eye out for in regards to maybe a threat to the business as you all continue to grow?
We definitely feel like we're on track, but and the things that we have in place can create a lot of enemies. So that's one of the things I have my eye on. I mean, we're not there yet, but I believe we'll be there soon.
Mm-hmm.
So, bringing on more people, that is a fear because it's hard. The bigger your workforce, the more things you have to have in place to keep you protected. Because now it's not just you and the few other people we do have on our team, and us and a whole team that take that into account.
No, that's real. I work with a couple architecture firms and some other firms that are between that, like 2 employees and 7 in the space. It's always interesting to me when I meet with them, the things they tell me that they never told the owner. And it happens frequently. And it's these environments where people really do, you got to watch who's coming into your circle, because as you grow, you can't micromanage everything, right? And also it's not your hands touching everything anymore. It's a far bigger business. So in the future for Hirics, would you all ever take on another partner?
I don't think we take on another partner, but
Curveball.
I think we would be very open to bringing in people in our ecosystem that will help us think outside the box, not afraid to step up and make changes that we didn't see ourselves. I don't know if that's a partnership, but as we grow and add people and managers and things like that, we're never going to be the type of people that are like, this is how we're doing it and that's it. Like, we want to create a work environment that we want our clients to create, and the best way to do that is to demonstrate it. So we want people that will enjoy coming to work for Hirics.
Now, this is a podcast. We are international. We have listeners in Belgium, Spain, Egypt, Serbia, Canada, and more. So who are you all looking for right now for Hirics, in case they're listening and they're like, oh, you know what, I would love to get in contact with them?
Anybody that is struggling to find staff, in whatever industry that may be, maybe even if I'm not at the point where I can afford to pay somebody to do it, but I'd love to talk to somebody about what I can do to change my hiring approach to bring on the type of people that are going to stay long-term. Because it's not, like you said, it's not just getting a warm body in the door, it's building a culture of people that want to stay and grow with your organization. So, we're happy to talk to you about that, strategies that have worked for us, and how to scale your team in a way where you can create that type of culture.
Got it. And because this is the Bold Vision podcast, I have to ask this question. What do you all think has been the boldest thing you've done in business up until this point?
I don't know, Shane, what do you think?
Up to this point, I would say the boldest thing we've done, like Brent said, I don't like to show my face on camera, so this has been the boldest thing. Live for that fact.
No, appreciate it. With that being said, I appreciate you all for doing this. Like, this is your first live interview. Shane, go ahead.
And I would like to interject that, me and Julia aren't totally different. We are on the same page about a lot of stuff. That's what makes our partnership so perfect too, because sometimes we call each other and we're thinking the exact same thing, like, get out my head. We talk to each other all the time, so that's how you are too. But yeah, find somebody that you can relate to, and somebody that also sees things through a different lens.
And I'll say in the core of that, right, is finding somebody that has similar core values. I would argue that you can't find somebody with completely different, or, let's say at the different ends of the spectrum, your core values. They could be different, but still be in alignment. But if they're at the complete different ends of the spectrum, it's going to be very difficult for you all to run a business as a partnership. Very difficult. I don't care if you're brothers, I don't care if you're sisters, I don't care if it's family members or anybody else. If your core values are completely opposite, it's going to be hard to run that business. Very difficult. And definitely difficult to grow that business. So, the things you all shared about partnerships has been pivotal. And before we sign off, I just want to ask, is there anything that you all wanted to add? Anything maybe I didn't ask that you want the listeners to know about?
No, okay. I can't do anything but other than, what we said earlier, like, even if your business isn't in a place where, you can, you have the budget to retain staff with a recruiter, we'd love to help, business owners like ourselves figure out what they can do to kind of grow and scale.
And Julia, how can they find you?
Go Hirics.com, HIRICS. That's our website. There's a link to schedule a call with Shane or I.
All right, and can you give us that website address one more time?
Sure. Go Hirics.com.
All right, so everybody, you've heard from Shane and Julia of Hirics. It's a staffing company. I highly suggest if you're looking to scale, or like she said, if you're thinking about it and you just want to get consultation to figure out maybe what do we do now to make ourselves more attractive for when we do hire. That's the conversation that they can handle with you all. Reach out to them at gohirix.com. And I thank you for listening to the Bold Vision podcast. We will continue to have bold entrepreneurs on here telling their stories so you can hopefully grow your business. Thank you for listening. Talk to you all next time.